What's up, Christ Center Mental Health Community? This is me, David Lee True Sarshay, and this is our episode of Christian Schizo Rants, where it's two Christians with schizophrenia ranting about different topics. Before we get started on this show, I just have a quick announcement for those of you that are new to the channel. Please check out the Christ Center Mental Health Ministry website. There you can see our statement of faith. You can check out the On Faith and Mental Health blog. You can see see how to contact me or someone on the ministry team. You can have access to the Christian or the Christ Centered Mental Health Ministry bookstore, and you can find out how to support the ministry via Patreon, Venmo, or Cash App. All right, how you doing today, Joe?
Pretty good.
That's good. Before we get started on the topics, is there anything you want to talk about first?
Yeah, I just would like to say I've been having a little bit of drama with my mother lately, and I gotta say a message to her. Look, I'm gonna see you on your birthday and my birthday and Christmas and things like that of that nature. I'm not gonna completely shun you out of my life. Don't worry about that. And I'm also gonna pay you back what I owe you. But I am also at the same time I'm schizophrenic, bipolar, and ADD to boot. My fiance has her problems as well. We don't need people that don't really respect us and care too much. Consider our disorders and consider too much about how we, like all this strife and like disrespect and non-listening and all this. It's too much. We always get in conflict with each other because of various reasons. I don't want to dish out hot air on the internet and what we went through and whatnot, but I just want to let you know I'm gonna pay you back, and I'm gonna see you on holidays and whatnot. But as far as the rest of the time, me and Kaylin are going to be on our own. We're going to handle things on our own. So that's all I really got to say.
Yeah, that's good. You definitely got to do what's best for your mental health and what's best for your fiance's mental health too. So if it means limiting contact with to toxic people, that's what you got to do.
Right.
Is there any other topics you had in mind?
Well, if you notice, look over here. It's you got one too. This is my peer support degree, or not degree, certificate, I should say, that I earned. That's basically a person who is mentally ill, or also they could be an addict they can be a former drug addict, and basically they give support that a therapist who doesn't experience what you experience cannot.
No. And the certificate behind me is my mental health literacy certificate, like where I learned about mental health in depth. But yeah, okay, so the first topic I wanted us to talk about, like, do mentally ill people have the right to die? Like, because like there's a lot of talk, especially in Canada, about if someone's severely mentally ill, should they be allowed to get a doctor-assisted suicide? What do you think about that? I'll let you start.
No, I don't think it's your right to determine when you die. I think you should die naturally. I know everyone suffers in life, and now maybe someone who's going through so much pain they can't function and like they can't do anything, and they would rather die. And I guess maybe that person I might make an exception for, maybe. But as far as most people are concerned, I don't think having a mental illness is even necessarily a bad thing. I think it can be a positive thing if you can make it that way.
The thing that people don't understand is when we suffer through trials and tribulations, it produces in us endurance and character. So like mental, whether you go through a trial that's mental or physical, God is using that trial to mold your character. So like as a Christian, I believe we should do everything possible to preserve life. That's our goal, is to preserve life. Like we don't we like so I agree with you. I don't agree that someone with mental illness should take their life through doctor assisted suicide. Like you said, that's not our place to decide when we die. That's up to God. And I
Amen.
feel like I feel like people that decide to take their life, they're making themselves their own God.
Right. Which
Like,
people like to do quite often.
yeah, like so I don't think a mentally ill person, like even if the mentally ill person is really bad, like say they're completely treatment resistant, there's therapies for people that are treatment resistant. There's ECT therapy, and which is basically shock therapy, but it's not shock therapy is not like it was back in the 50s. They've really improved on that. And actually, shock therapy has a 77% success rate for people with schizophrenia. So, like, if you have schizophrenia and you're really struggling and medication's not working for you, I would recommend you go through ECT therapy because that's helping a lot of people with schizophrenia. Like, a doctor assisted suicide should never be the answer.
Now, I know as far as I'm aware of that particular shock therapy, it won't outright cure you, but like say you hear voices once a week, if you're that, it might go down to once every 2 months or something even better. So it really slows down and if you hear them every day practically, then it might be once a week or once a month instead.
Yeah.
That's as far as I'm aware as it works.
Yeah, it won't completely cure your schizophrenia, but it'll greatly help it. It'll greatly reduce your symptoms. Like nothing actually will cure mental illness, but you could take actions that will reduce your symptoms.
Right.
Like it's never the answer to just go off and commit suicide. That's never the answer. Now I don't believe that suicide is unforgivable. Like suicide, just like any sin, is forgivable in Christ. However, it's not preferable. You don't. The God wants you to live, and I mean when you like it's in His timing and His will when He decides to take you home. But while you're on this earth, you have a purpose for being on this earth, and that's to fulfill His commission
Mm-hmm.
and bring Him glory.
Yeah, through your testimony in the gospel.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's not a good it's not as Christians, I can't get behind doctor assisted suicides.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I know I got the idea for this topic. There's this channel on YouTube that I like to watch called Living Well with Schizophrenia. And the woman that on that channel, her name is Lauren. She has schizoaffective disorder. And one time I saw a video where her and her husband were talking about this very topic because there was a law that was going to be voted on in Canada saying that mentally ill people should have the right to die. And they were like they were talking about it from a secular perspective, and they were saying how that's a good thing. And I was like, as a Christian, I can't see that as a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, I can see how from a secular perspective that might sound good because from a secular perspective, you're like, well, the person's suffering so much, so to stop their suffering, they should just die. But like as Christians, we have to be eternal minded. Like everything we do on this side of heaven will have effects in eternity. So we have to keep that in mind as Christians. Like a secular person doesn't understand what it means to be eternally minded.
Yeah, we're thinking in the mindset of like, this person might not be saved, and if he dies an early death, then it's going to be a lot worse than here.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is going to be heaven compared to what's in the next life.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Yeah. All right. So the next topic was a topic that you wanted to talk about. That was mental illness and pot smoking.
Mhm.
I'll let you start that conversation.
Well, I got a cocktail of mental disorders, and basically, I just call it that. I don't know if anyone else calls it that, but that means when you have multiple at the same time. And I have bipolar, schizophrenia, ADHD. Now, the thing is, though, my bipolar probably dominates the other two. And I've tried to balance myself with stuff other than pot, didn't work out. I've tried getting off pot, didn't work out. So I do like to smoke the reefer to not to party, not to like get stoned, so to speak, but I do it to just keep me balancing on off edge and like just make me centered and not so moody and anxious and angry and all that negative stuff, because I tried getting off a pot, and around day 7 I was a different person. I was mean all the time. I wasn't happy. I was just like
Don't you think that could be caused by withdrawals?
perhaps.
Yeah.
But I just know that like I just wasn't the same person after a while, and the only way I could go back to it was just to smoke a little pot. And I don't. I mean, it's legal in my state for people 21 or older. I don't suggest this to anybody, but it does help me. I didn't like Prozac. I didn't like other various antidepressants they put me on. I prefer the natural THC.
Yeah. See, I like you. I have a cocktail of mental disorders too. I have schizophrenia, bipolar type 1, and I have separation anxiety disorder. But unlike you, I've had the opposite experience with weed. Like I tried smoking pot, and it actually made me worse. So it completely messed me up. So like I decided for my own sake not to smoke pot because it just messes me up. So what do you think about that scripture? Oh, I think it's in First Peter. By the way, Chuck Ward says hi. Hi, Chuck. Thank you for joining the stream. But what do you think about that scripture? I think it's in First Peter that says, "Be sober minded."
Well, I take that. I am mentally ill, and this is my medicine. That's what I take it for. It's my medicine. I don't take it to party. I don't take it to have fun, so to speak. I do it because it's beneficial. That's what I like. I know it makes me a little disoriented, but my tolerance is so skyrocket that this stuff doesn't really make me stoned anymore. It just makes me normal. I just don't feel the same without it.
So have you ever thought about taking just the medicinal part of marijuana and not instead of like have you thought about that? Just taking the medicinal part?
Well, there really is no pills or anything.
Oh, there isn't?
Medical marijuana is basically marijuana that's for people that are legally to use it, when they have like a card or something, but they can smoke it in a bong or anything like that, just like regular recreational.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking of CBD, I guess.
I did try CBD as a substitute, and it did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that's what when I tried to be sober for 7 days, I was smoking CBD as a substitute to get me off and then I was eventually going to get off of all of it completely. But I was I was too moody, man. Like I didn't like what I was turning into.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I'm a pretty intense person regardless, and when I was off a pot, it just made it like 10 times worse.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, it's kind of interesting how we both have similar disorders, but we both have entirely two different testimonies about how weed affected us. Because I remember when I smoked weed, like it made me on the one hand, it made me very giddy, where I was like really hyper and laughing all the time, and I was really disoriented. And then it made me very manic. But then on the other side, another time when I smoked weed, it made me like really stupid. Like I would space out and have slow reactions, and So it really messed me up. Like
It affects people differently. I've heard some people
Yeah.
say when they don't like to smoke it because when they smoke it, it makes them depressed. Like they feel like life feels like crap, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just depends on who you are.
exactly. Yeah, that's why I say it depends on who you. And also, I think it also depends on your tolerance too.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a
Yeah,
pretty, I don't
I
have a
was
big.
pretty giddy when I first started smoking pot. I was similar to your experiences, very giddy and laughing and like having a real good time. I don't get that anymore. That doesn't happen
Yeah,
anymore.
because your tolerance is probably stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chuck says, agreed. No one wants to take medicine, but we need it and thankful. Yeah, that's true. Like, no one wants to take medication, but we need it. Like, I always say, if it wasn't for my medication, I'd either be in prison or dead today. So I thank God for my medication.
I'm glad Chuck brought that up because I'll tell you one thing right now. If I was not mentally ill and I was born again, Bible believing Christian, I would not be smoking pot. I would find it
Yeah.
really wrong, to be honest. I would not do it.
Yeah.
But since I am
Yeah.
bipolar, I kind of feel like, well, I guess I can smoke it because I'm a little bit like crazy. So,
I actually like one time I was talking to a nurse in a mental hospital that I was in, and I asked her about marijuana and how it affects mental illness, and she told me that according to all the studies, marijuana actually makes mental illness worse.
well, my schizophrenia and my ADD does not agree with the marijuana. It doesn't
Yeah.
help. It doesn't help those two. But like I
Oh,
said, my bipolar dominates those two. So to keep that at bay and keep it so not so out of control, marijuana does help me. It does. It's
yeah.
better than Prozac and stuff like that, in my opinion. For me, anyways. I don't know
Has
about
it
other
ever
people, but
has it ever made you paranoid or anything?
it used to.
It used
Not so
to.
much anymore.
Okay. Yeah, because that's what happened to me. One time I was smoking weed and I got really paranoid.
Yeah, it used to make me paranoid.
Yeah. Okay, the next topic. Okay, I think we talked about that topic long enough. But the next topic, I wanted us to talk about our hobbies and how our hobbies help us deal with our mental illness.
Right.
Like, I'll let you go first.
Well, I was born in 1983, and that's the year when Duck Hunt and Mario came out to save the video game genre from going into dumb thanks to E.T. So when I was about as long as I can remember, every time I went to a friend's house or a cousin's house that was about my age, they were all playing like Mike Tyson's Punch Out or Mario or Duck Hunt or Zelda and whatnot. And and I had a great time with my own system. And I kind of grew up with the evolution to the Super Nintendo and the PlayStations and all that. And I still play them to this day, but I've read studies that video games help people with mental illness, whether it's autism, schizophrenia, bipolar, and whatnot. It just keeps our mind busy. It helps us, it just keeps us. I know a lot of people say it's very unproductive, and they got a point, but sometimes we can't even leave the house. We're so bad,
As long as you know that Sega Genesis is better than Super Nintendo.
I disagree.
Genesis does what Nintendo don't.
Fair enough, but I always listened to Nintendo back in the day, but now I'm not so much anymore. Now I'm a PlayStation guy, so.
Now I like PlayStation too. PlayStation is way better than Xbox.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so like that's one of your hobbies is playing video games?
Yeah, I definitely like, I don't like I used to like violent video games one now where you can be
like Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption, whatnot. But I kind of am outgrowing the taste in those, I guess, because I'm getting older. I'm just pretty much playing sports games now. Like I'm not, even though I'm not really idolizing sports to the degree I was before, but like I'm not really into sports as I used to be at all. Like I kind of like won't know what the players are doing, whatnot right now. but I keep up with it a little bit. But the thing is, though, I
Watch-
kind of like being my own world and kind of doing things on video games that had nothing to do with real life because
I'll tell
sports
you. I'll
now
tell
is
you.
to win, to the
I'll tell
devil.
you one. I'll tell you one thing that the sports players are doing these days: being
But
woke.
yeah,
Being woke.
exactly. That's one of the reasons why I stopped watching
Yeah.
because they got political and stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't want to hear this left wing stuff when I'm watching sports. I want to get away with
Yeah.
politics when I'm watching sports. So since
So,
they shove sports, politics in my face when I'm trying to get away with it, I was like, I'm not going to watch anymore.
so are there any other hobbies besides playing video games that you like to do?
Well, I can't. If you're single, you can't really do this. I don't guess, but with me and my woman, we do like to go out on dates a lot.
Yeah.
Whether they're free ones or ones that cost money, we just like to go out, window shop on the free days, or go to the park. We like to, speaking of video games, we like to play Pokemon Go with each other.
That's good.
When we're like today, we're gonna go out to dinner. So
That's good.
we just like to go out and have fun with each other when my video games are taking a back seat and stuff.
That's
So
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, some of the hobbies that I like to do, like when I was younger, when I was a young kid, like you, I grew up on video games. Like my first system was a Sega Genesis, and then I had a Nintendo 64, and then I had the first PlayStation, the PlayStation 1, and I was really obsessed with video games back then. But like I kind of grew out of video games as I got older. But the one thing that I liked about video games was that it kept my, like you said, it kept my mind focused and it let me let out a lot of aggression and and it kind of distracted me from everyday life. But like another one of my big hobbies that I really love is like I love to read. I love to read ever since I was like an elementary school kid. Like I would read all the time. Like there was like hardly a time you wouldn't see me without a book. And like nowadays, I like to read books on theology, psychology, and philosophy. Like some of the books that I'm reading right now, I'm reading this book called Seven Psychologies. Um, I'm reading this book right here, Return to Reason, and this book right here, Christian Counseling, a Comprehensive Guide. Like I'm reading other books too. Like I'm always I'm the type of person I read multiple books at the same time because I can't just read one book at a time. Like I have to read multiple books at a time. And what reading does for me what video games kind of does for you. Like it distracts my mind and like keeps me focused and like I just love to read, and I love to write too. I loved writing ever since I was in, like ever since I was in elementary school. I loved to write. Like it started off, my mom used to like make me write letters to my sisters once a week, and like that instilled in me a love for writing. Like I was doing that as young as like fourth grade, like or third grade, I think, and like that really helped me like those are the three things I like to do is read, write, not so much playing video games anymore. But the third thing that I like to do, I like to watch movies and TV shows. I love it when like my wife introduces me to another movie or a TV show that she likes, or sometimes I'll introduce her to a movie or TV show that I like too.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like it's I like doing things with my wife a lot. So like I mean, like you said, if you're single, like it's really like when I was single, it was really hard for me to like find things that I like to do. Like, cause like I enjoy being married because I always have someone to do things with. Like,
Yeah.
whereas when I was single, it was hard for me to find things that I like to do just by myself.
Yeah.
Like, Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't agree with men going on their own way kind of thing.
Oh,
Because,
the MGTOW movement. Yeah, I don't.
you really want to be live your whole life and be successful and not have a woman. You really want that? I mean, I just don't. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I think MGTOW was a gay movement. Like they're like men going their own way. That sounds like Romans chapter 1 to me. Like
I
they give
mean,
up.
it's just ridiculous. I don't know.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. Like I don't. MGTOW is ridiculous. All right, like I mean, I get the concept because like they formed because a lot of men were being screwed out in court hearings with like because the courts will favor women a lot of times. But like a lot of MGTOW men, they come across as like crybabies. Like and they like to call themselves alpha male, but they come across as a bunch of crybabies.
I hear
Mm.
women often say a good man is hard to find, but when the shoe's on the other foot, you can say the other same about women. Like screwing over men all the time and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But at the same time, there are good women out there.
yeah,
Look, be
There's-
selective when you date.
yeah, yeah.
Don't just marry someone or get in bed with someone you're attracted to. You got to
Yeah.
find a good woman, and they're out there. There's plenty out
Exactly.
there for guys.
There's good women out there. There's good men out there. You just gotta be like you say. You just gotta be selective. Use discernment. Like when me and my wife first met, like we talked about like all the major discussion points, so that we knew exactly where we stood. We talked about theology. We talked about family stuff. We talked about everything early on in our relationship so we could find out exactly where each other stood on different topics. And that's what you got to do when you meet someone that you think is a serious contender. You have to ask them and talk to them about the serious topics. Like a lot of people, when they're dating, they don't really talk about serious topics. They just kind of like just hang out and like have sex, and it's very superficial. Like if you want a long lasting relationship, like or long lasting marriage, you have to have something more than just superficial. You have to have something deeper than a superficial connection.
Yeah,
Like
because you definitely don't want to bring a child in the world and you have a woman that you're not have nothing in common with or you don't get along with.
exactly, exactly. That's exactly right. All right. So before we get started on the videos, are there any other topics you want to talk about real quick?
I'm good, man.
All right. So we'll go to the videos now. Whoops. Hold on. The first video, I came across this video. It's about psychology, and like I wanted us to review it because oh no. Hold on. Yeah. All right. Can you see it?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's go ahead and start this. As you could tell, this video's title is Psychotherapy Anti-Christian. So you can already tell where this video is going to go.
Right.
Can you hear it? Hear it?
Yes.
All right.
The following is distributed by the Berean Call.
You're listening to Search the Scriptures Daily, a program in which we encourage everyone who desires to know God's truth to look to God's Word for all that is essential for salvation and living one's life in a way that is pleasing to Him. In this first segment of our program, Dave and I are discussing the topic of psychology and the church, a subject we have written about rather extensively, and we've also...
Before we get too far into this video, like I just want to make it clear that as for me, I support psychology and psychiatry. Like I know this is a pretty controversial discussion in Christian circles because a lot of Christians are against psychology and psychiatry. But as a Christian who suffers with schizoaffective disorder and separation anxiety, I can tell you from firsthand experience that psychology and psychiatry, like God has used psychology and psychiatry in my life to really save my life. Because without psychology and psychiatry, I would be dead or in prison today. So like this topic is something that is really close to my heart.
Amen. Yeah, same here. I agree with you 100% because I can say the same thing. If it wasn't for psychology and medication, I would definitely not be in the position I was now. Jesus Christ gets 100% credit, but it was through him that I found medication and the help I got to go right now.
Exactly.
Also produced an hour-long DVD titled Psychology in the Church, Critical Questions, Crucial Answers. Furthermore, we're in the process of putting together a book that will be a collection of the many articles we've written dealing with psychology. The Lord willing, it will be off the press late this spring. David, I'd like to pick up where we left off last week, and for those who didn't have a chance to see or hear our program, we're talking in general about psychology, and we identified that as psychological counseling or psychotherapy. Basically, the mode of psychotherapy is conversation. People talk, people listen, and they deal with issues of life. So, Dave, as we stated last week, the evangelical church, I'm talking about the conservative, Bible-believing church, is so heavily into psychological counseling that it's really astonishing.
They say it's astonishing that the evangelical church is heavy on psychological counseling, as if that's a bad thing. Like the fact that the church has become more accepting of psychological counseling is a good thing, because that means they're learning more about mental illness. And that means they can help out people with mental illness more. Like, because before psychological counseling came into the church was resorting to abusive tactics against mentally ill people. So I find it as a good thing that a lot of churches are welcoming psychological counseling, because it will it'll keep the church from abusing Christians that have mental illness.
Is he saying it from the perspective that it's growing, or is he saying that that it's like the majority of what we think?
I think he's saying it's growing.
Yeah, because like I know if I took a litmus test of 3 Christians and I had them in a room and I all asked them the same question, I bet 7 out of 10 would probably say negative things about psychology.
Yeah, probably. You're probably right about that.
And the reason it's astonishing, as we pointed out last week, is that the concepts of psychotherapy, that man is innately good, that self is the solution to man's problems, these are antithetical to what the Bible teaches.
Absolutely.
Actually, see, this is how I know his information is outdated, because, yeah, at one time psychology taught that, or some psychological fields have taught that man is innately good, like Abraham Maslow and his pyramid of needs. At the top of the pyramid of needs was self-actualization. However, not all fields of psychology teaches that man is innately good. He's painting all psychological fields with a broad brush. There are psychological fields that teach that man is inherently selfish, and so he's like, when he's talking about psychology, keep that in mind, that he's painting psychology with a broad brush. There are tons of different fields in psychology, and not every field agrees with one another. There's Gestalt or psychology. There's dynamic psychology. There's evolutionary psychology. There's all different types of psychology, and they don't all agree with each other.
Right.
So why then do you think evangelicals have gotten into psychology?
Tom, I'm sure there are a number of possible answers to that question, and this is my opinion, of course. I think that the confidence in the Bible has been undermined, not just by psychology. That sort of was the icing on.
Well, he's saying that one of the reasons why psychology has become so popular in the church is because confidence in the Bible or the trustworthiness of the Bible has been undermined. That's a bold-faced lie. Like people, like he's essentially saying that if the like people turning to psychology don't trust the Bible, that's a false dichotomy. And if you don't know what a false dichotomy is, it's where you present two positions as if they're the only two positions when a logical third position is available, but you ignore that third position. So what he's essentially saying is you either trust the Bible or you trust psychological counseling. But the third option is that you trust the Bible and the Bible informs how you look at psychological counseling. That's the third available option. Like it's not a black or white thing like he's trying to paint.
You know, I've been to various clinics throughout Phoenix, Arizona, and I've noticed most of the people there are secular. A lot of them are extremist LGBT members, but I've met some of the most religious Christian people in those clinics that are just all they talk about is the Lord, and
Exactly.
like they won't talk to anybody but themselves. What they're doing, they're reciting scripture.
Exactly. Yeah,
You know?
I met some of the most godliest people who
They're
have
just-
mental illness and see
they're
a
just-
therapist and a psychiatrist. Yeah, and then another thing, like a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists even though they may not be Christians themselves, but a lot of them are really affirming of faith of the faith. Like a lot of secular psychiatrists and psychologists are affirming of faith. Like they're not. It's not this black or white thing where psychiatrists and psychologists all hate the faith. Like I met plenty of therapists and psychiatrists who were actually happy to hear that I was a Christian. So
right, exactly.
And they were this whole idea that psychiatry and psychology are anti-Christian. Maybe that was true 50 years ago, but it's not true anymore.
Right.
On the cake. This has been going on for a long time through Darwin, evolution, through the influence of that in the public.
Which is false science, by the way.
Right.
And that's an analogy that it has with psychotherapy.
Right.
Hold on. Okay. So I agree with him that evolution is a false science. But did he just say that evolution is analogous to psychology?
Basically.
Like, that is ridiculous. Psychology has nothing to do with evolution. Yes, there's a branch of psychology called evolutionary psychology, but evolutionary psychology is just one field among many different fields in psychology. So right now, I mean, I don't want to judge his motives, but I'm willing to bet that he's bold-faced lying right now. Like I'm not trying to say for a fact that he's bold-faced lying. Like he could just be mistaken, but like if he's going to pop off at the mouth about something he doesn't know anything about, then he needs to shut up. Like it's kind of ridiculous how he just made that claim.
Yeah, as far as I'm considered, macroevolution is completely a fairy tale, and I lived through my mental disorders. I know for a fact I got schizoaffective disorder. It's no fairy tale, but you know, there's CAT scans that can prove hot and cold spots in your brain, and that's physical evidence that mental illness is real. But there is no physical evidence of macroevolution whatsoever.
Exactly, and it's kind of messed up that he just compared Darwinian evolution to psychology. The two can't be any more antithetical. Like,
but that has
and if you look in the history of evolution, I was just gonna say a lot of evolution is rooted in racism and stuff, and there's nothing racist about psychology.
Exactly.
I'm supposed to give brief response to now. This is sort of an introduction, but if you went back to the early days of science, I mean when modern science was first developed, say let's take Boyle's law of gases. Well, the man was an evangelical Christian. He even left in his will an endowment. It's at Oxford University today, lectures to refute atheism and the skeptics and so forth. He was opposed to Darwin. So we're almost, I could name them, but I'm not going to name them, down from Newton and on down the line. They all believed in God, okay? That's the way.
Like, I don't see what his point is. Yeah, all the original scientists did believe in God. And even today, 51% of scientists today believe in God. But, like, is he trying to compare that to psychologists? Because there are psychologists who are Christians. And I'm kind of thinking he's trying to get to a point where he's going to say that psychologists are not Christian, which would be, if he does say that, then he's lying, because there are Christians that are psychologists. There's plenty of them. Like there's, I can name off right now, I can name off 3 or 4 different Christian psychologists. There's Dr. Mark McMinn. There's Dr. Matthew Stanford. There's Dr. Larry Crabb. And there's Dr. Gary Collins. I just named off 4 Christian psychologists that are well known in the field of psychology just right now. So if he's going to say that there are no psychologists who are Christian, that's what, I don't know if that's what he's going to say, but if that's where he's leading with this, then he's wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Science began.
Just an argument on a thin air base.
Yeah, exactly.
Very interesting. I wish we had time, but we don't have time. But Tom, it didn't begin in Islamic countries. They had some mathematics and astronomy, observations, and so forth. But real science, getting into the atom and the understanding of this whole thing, it began in Christian areas. Now, I'm not saying they were all Christians. Most of the founders of the scientific theories that we still go by today, they were Christians. They certainly were theists. Now along came Darwin. Darwin's purpose was to destroy belief in God. That's the whole reason he came up with this idea. We've got to explain how man got here.
So hold on. Okay. I'm not an evolutionist by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not. I think Darwinian evolution is a joke because there's no evidence to support it. However, he just assumed Darwin's motives just now by saying Darwin's whole purpose was to destroy faith in God. That could have been Darwin's whole purpose, but seeing how he's not in Darwin's mind, he can't actually say that with 100% certainty. He's just assuming that. I'm not trying to defend Darwinism, but we need to be careful not to assume people's motives. What were you saying? Hello? Hey.
But Darwin is
what?
Yeah.
Darwin is what? You broke out.
But Darwin was a biologist, right?
No.
Wasn't Darwin a biologist?
No, he was actually getting his degree
Wasn't Darwin a biologist?
No, I think he was getting his degree to become a pastor. Did you hear me?
Darwin.
What? Are you there? What the heck? Hold on.
Darwin?
What? What'd you say?
Darwin?
What do you mean? What about Darwin?
Charles Darwin was getting a degree to be
Yeah,
a
he was getting a
pastor.
degree. Yeah, he was getting a degree to become a pastor. Before he went to the Galapagos Islands to see the finches, he was actually going to school to become a pastor. What?
Charles Darwin was trying to be a pastor.
Yeah, before he went,
Darwin was a biologist, right?
Before he went to the Galapagos Islands to see the finches, he was actually
He was a biologist, not a psychologist, right?
No, before he went to the Galapagos Islands to see the finches, he was going.
Darwin was in the field of biology, though.
No, before he went to the Galapagos Islands to see the finches, he was going to school to become a pastor. He was going to school to become a pastor.
Okay, but
hello,
right?
Yeah,
but I don't see the connection between what he was studying as. Yeah, you don't hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Something's going on.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it your internet connection?
Oh, okay. I don't see apps.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let me see. Okay, I can't do that in the middle of the show, babe.
Well,
Just
what was your point?
I don't see how the study of how man became of what they became. What does that have to do? What does the study of evolution have to do with psychology anyways, is my point.
I think he's trying to compare evolution to psychology, which it's like comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, I'm trying to draw the distinction of how Darwinism and evolution have to do with psychology when they're two different sciences.
Yeah, exactly. They are two different sciences.
God.
I mean, like I said, there is a field of psychology called evolutionary psychology, but that's one branch of psychology. That's not a representation of all of the whole psychological field.
Right.
Okay. Freud, he came right along on his coattails. And yes, this is the way, and I will explain human behavior.
I really hate how people that are anti-psychology keep on bringing up Freud and Carl Jung, as if they represent modern day psychology. Yes, when you take a psychology course in college, they do teach you about Freud and Carl Jung and Abraham Maslow as history. But modern day psychology is no longer influenced by Freud and Carl Jung and Abraham Maslow.
Right. Yeah, that's ancient history.
Yeah, exactly.
Without God. So what happened? It permeated the schools. It's astonishing, Tom, because there is an innate belief in man that God exists. And I've traveled quite a bit in the Soviet Union back in the Iron Curtain days. Mm-hmm. For 70 years, they tried to stamp out all belief in God. They couldn't do it.
That I do agree with. There is an innate, like we are innately instilled with belief in God. Like Romans chapter 1 says, all man knows God exists because God has revealed himself to all people in such a way that they are without excuse. So I agree with him there. Like no one has an excuse to not acknowledge. No one has an excuse for not acknowledging God, because God has imprinted his law on every man's heart. And you can see it in creation. You can see God in creation. You know God exists through your conscience. So you have no excuse for not worshiping God. Like
as a former atheist, I can definitely testify to the fact that you guys are trying to convince yourself that there is no God. You don't know.
Exactly.
So stop pretending like you know that atheism is a fact, because you don't. You have faith in atheism, and it's a blind faith. You have no evidence whatsoever.
Exactly.
Years. And even today, in spite of the fact that atheism is dominant on radio, television, in our schools, medical schools, philosophy, science, and so forth, still, when they take a poll, 92 to 95% of Americans still believe in God, okay? But anyway, what I'm trying to say is we've had an influence that has permeated society from our schools, from grammar schools and TV shows and all the way that has undermined confidence in the Bible and belief in God. So now that doesn't work. I mean, furthermore, science has become a god that is worshipped. Why, we blew it. Is what the Christians would say. We blew it when it came to evolution. We said no, evolution wasn't biblical, but now the church is coming around. Catholic Church says it's biblical. For example, Baylor, their science department says evolution is established. We're going to stick.
Okay, like it seems kind of weird. Like he's trying to say that modern day science has undermined confidence in God's word. Like, what does this have to do with psychology, though? Like psychology has not undermined faith in God's word. Like, there are plenty of psychologists who have 100% faith in the inerrant word of God. But they also are psychologists. There are people who have like you said, there are people who have mental illness who are taking medication and seeing a therapist who have 100% faith in God's word. Amen. So, like, how does any of this that he's saying relate or have anything to do with psychology? Like, right now, he keeps on talking about evolution and, like, I'm not seeing where he's going with this. Like, I have a feeling, I think I know where he's going with this. I think he's going to say that psychology is anti-Christian, the whole field is anti-Christian, and the whole field of psychology is undermining faith in the Bible. But as I've already stated, that is actually a false claim. There are plenty of Christians who are psychologists, and they will tell you that they have 100% faith in the inerrant, inspired word of God. So
do you think he's going to go down the rabbit hole to where he's going to say, like, these people are not suffering from a mental illness, they're suffering with demons?
No, he might. Like, I don't know if he's going to go there in this video, but he might bring that up. I don't know.
With that, this is science. Okay, so
if he does say the whole demon thing, that means he's going way back to the old Roman Catholicism days where they were performing exorcisms on mentally ill people. And that's where this idea that mental illness is demonic, it goes back to the old Roman Catholicism, because that's the old Roman Catholic Church used to say mentally ill people are demon possessed, and they would subject mentally ill people to abusive tactics. Like, so I hope he doesn't go there with this.
Yeah.
What does the church need to build back its self-esteem? We need some scholars. We need to get science on our side. What do you know? Jesus was a scientist. Well, Mary Baker Eddy said so. First Church of Christ scientist. Wow. And, well, we can be scientific. We can get our PhDs because psychology is science. Tom, I'm a little bit older than you are, and I can tell you when I had to take you were forced to take an introductory course in psychology, and they called it mental hygiene in those days. I can tell you, the atmosphere on the campus, we thought anybody who majored in psychology, I'm just talking about the average student, the psych professors, these guys are loonies. They got into this because...
Really? Like, okay, as someone who has taken many different psychology courses And I can tell you firsthand that the professors that I've had in college that taught psychology were not quote unquote loonies. They were some of the most stable people that I've ever met in my entire life. So what he's doing is he's playing off of stereotypes because everybody knows the stereotype of the psychology professor being absent-minded and being a little weird and kooky, but that's just a character. That's not a reflection on psychology professors in real life.
Yeah. I mean, when I took my peer support class, the people who taught the classes, they were mentally ill as well. They were fellow peer support, but you wouldn't even know they were mentally ill if you met them on the street. They were completely fine.
Yeah, exactly.
They couldn't figure themselves out, and somehow they're trying. Tom, that was the beginning. Now, oh, wow, we're going to have a conference, and we're going to have a Christian psychologist address this. Today, Christian psychologists have become the big authorities on the Bible. Wait a minute.
Wait.
So
he's against Christian psychologists now. So I think I know where he's going to go. He's going to say that Christian psychologist is an oxymoron, and that's like like first off, like you can be a Christian who studies psychology. I just want to make that perfectly clear. Psychology and the Bible are not antithetical. I want to make that perfectly clear because that's what it seems like he's going. Like he's going to say that a Christian psychologist is an oxymoron. But no, there are plenty of Christians who believe in the inspired, inerrant word of the living God, and their profession is that they're psychologists. And actually, honestly, I think it's a good thing that the church is looking to Christian psychologists to understand things like mental illness or like stuff like that. Like it's kind of a shame when we have people like John MacArthur who is out there, who has a big worldwide influence, and he's out there saying that mental illness is fake. Like, and I like a lot of Christians are listening to him. So I think it's a good thing that there's Christian psychologists out there that are out there to combat what John MacArthur is saying, and they also have a lot of influence on people.
Amen.
Did you want to say something?
I think you're right about where he's going with this. I don't think the Bible and the psychology contradicts each other in any way.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. It doesn't contradict. Actually, psychology actually affirms the Bible in a lot of ways.
Right.
You asked me a question. I think part of it is the worship of science. Psychology claims to be a science. It is not. You know, there have been studies.
Psychology is a science. Like I had a feeling he was going to say. A lot of Christians like that are against psychology think psychology is not a science. It's not a hard science like chemistry or biology. It's a soft science, but they still run tests. They still have hypotheses. They still test their hypotheses. They have actual science in psychology. It's not just philosophical.
Right. Yeah. And there's physical evidence nonetheless. If you look at a CAT scan of someone who has schizoaffective or just schizophrenia, bipolar, PTSD, they will have hot and cold spots that a normal person will not have.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
To that, we get back into that later. But the church, we can hold our heads up now in academia. We've got PhDs, and they, the Bible is scientific after all.
Dave, it's certainly a matter of pride. There isn't any doubt about that. But it's also the flesh. Now, the world has been attracted to the idea that science was going to solve all of its problems, right?
Without God.
Oh, of course. That's the idea.
Who's claiming that science will solve all of our problems without God? Like I said already, 51% of scientists believe in God. And so I don't think that the people are saying that science will solve all their problems without God. Like, no one believes that science has an answer to everything. Like, a good scientist will tell you science doesn't answer everything. It answers a lot of things, but it doesn't answer everything. Like,
Right.
so I don't know. These people don't know what science is about.
Yeah. Like
Yet,
try to scientifically prove love or something like that.
Yeah, science doesn't prove love. You can't put love in a test tube.
Yeah.
Christians, even evangelicals, they want their problem solved. And if they've bought the idea that science has some answers and that psychology or psychotherapy, psychological counseling is scientific, they're going to jump on that because they, like the world, want their problem solved.
And they want to have science on their side, you
Right.
see. Science. Oh, we worship science. You know, Tom, I'm a CPA, certified public accountant. I can remember as a young boy, my parents, he was a preacher, in fact, who was a CPA. And I can remember, wow, you look up to the CPA, oh my goodness, the guy never makes a mistake because he signs his name to examines the books of a bank and so
Wait,
forth. And
he's a CPA, like, and he thinks he has the authority to talk on psychology and science. What gives you the authority to say anything about psychology and science? You're just a CPA. Maybe you should stay in your own lane and stop talking about stuff you know nothing about. Like,
Yeah. It's like, I don't know much about Buddhism, right? So
yeah,
would I go to a rally with a bunch of them and try to disprove Buddhism? I don't know that much about it. It's out of my place to tell them
yeah,
about, how they're wrong and stuff.
exactly. I mean, yeah, exactly.
wow. Well, you get to be a CPA, you find out some of the guys barely pass the CPA exam. And they do make mistakes. Sometimes they get sued for mistakes. It's the same thing with scientists. Scientists are little boys and girls who grew up, they went to university, they got degrees, they gathered a lot of information in a narrow field, most of them. Much of that information was wrong. Okay, especially
Much of that information was wrong. Okay, what gives you the authority that qualifies you to say that much of the information that they received in science was wrong? Like, yes, evolution is wrong. I give them that, but but he just said much of the information in science is wrong. So he's not just talking about evolution. He's talking about like he's talking about more than just evolution. So now what does his CPA education give him that gives him the right to say that much of the science that these students received is wrong?
I mean, I would like to see him disprove chemistry or stuff
Yes.
like that. Like, I mean, to say that all. I mean, see, that's why a lot of atheists don't take it seriously because a lot of us do disbelieve in science 100%. And
Yeah.
I'm in the mind frame whereas I believe in credible science. I just don't believe in pseudoscience. Like there's
Yeah.
certain science that's tied in with certain agendas and politics that I don't believe, like climate change, for instance.
Yeah.
But like chemistry, I'm okay with. Like I
Yeah.
can, and psychology, for instance, I'm okay with too.
Exactly. I agree with you.
when you get into genetics, Richard Dawkins, or let's take Francis Crick.
That's enough of that. Like,
I want to hear about Francis Crick.
oh,
Just kidding.
sorry. So, do you guys have any final thoughts about that video?
It seems like he was just talking out of his butt the whole time. I didn't see him saying any facts about anything.
Yeah, it did. It seemed like like he doesn't know what he's talking about. He just kind of kept rambling on about evolution as if that has anything to do with psychology. To be honest, I'm kind of disappointed in that video because we listened to the first 10 minutes of that video and he didn't even touch on psychology.
Didn't really go anywhere. Yeah.
He didn't really go anywhere. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, okay. So the next video, you might find this.
Oh,
You might find this video pretty interesting. You're familiar with Jubilee, right?
I like Jubilee.
Yeah. Well, you might like this video. Can you see it?
Yeah.
As you can tell, it's the title of this video is being fat a choice? Fit men versus fat men, middle ground. First off, what's your thoughts about that title? Like, do you think being fat is a choice?
It depends on the person. I like me, for instance, I'm a little bit out of shape right now, but if I wanted to get into shape, I could, if I really took it seriously. There's some people out there, no matter what they do, they're going to be big their whole life. And I'm not even just talking about big boned people. I'm just talking about people that just can't lose weight, man, no matter what they do. Like, they can eat healthier and they can exercise, but they're always going to be pretty big. So it just depends on the person.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, we'll get this started.
And being in the public space encourages obesity?
Yes.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Shame is what led me to an eating disorder.
Whose fault
When
is that,
what
though?
we're looking for is
Whose fault is that?
stability.
That's your fault.
It's
See, the
an
problem is that you're a
amalgamation.
professional victim.
Would you agree, like, looking at his physique, like, he's at a perfectly, I would say, maybe
Yes, sir.
healthy.
Asshole.
No.
You think?
He's definitely.
What?
I said they were a-holes. That guy. I said that guy those guys were a-holes that were saying it's all your fault and stuff. You know, that's that's kind of rude.
Yeah, that's true.
Overweight, definitely obese.
My name's John. I host the Radical Empathy podcast. I used to direct episodes of Middle Ground, but I'll now be moderating today's discussion between jacked men and fat men. Our first prompt is, I have felt disgusted looking at a fat body.
Okay, what do you think about that? Do you feel disgusted looking at a fat body?
No.
Yeah, I agree. I don't feel disgusted, but like I feel bad when I look at my fat body, but I don't really when I see another fat person, I don't really think twice about it. But
You know, I remember one time I was looking at myself riding a bike, and I was getting a little bit of groceries from the grocery store to my house, and I was looking at my reflection, and I did not like how I looked.
yeah,
And then I went on YouTube, and I looked at this one video that said, drink nothing but water, eat nothing but chicken breast, no skin on it, and walk a lot. And I ended up doing that for a good while. And I ended up, at first it was 5 miles. No, it's 3 miles. Then it went to 5 miles. Then it went to 7 miles. Then it went to a 9-mile walk. And I eventually lost 65 pounds doing that. And I also did aerobics and stuff in the middle, you know.
wow,
So,
that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can our agreeers please step forward? Whoever feels compelled to start us off.
Well, it's unacceptable to be fat.
Okay. That's a great
He
start.
just outright says it's unacceptable to be fat. Are you there?
Says who?
It says who?
Says who? Unacceptable. Yeah, unacceptable.
Yeah, he says it's unacceptable.
That's not right.
Yeah. I think it's funny that he said that. He just boldly just said that.
I mean, I know why you say that.
What? What'd you say?
That is totally not true, though.
Yeah, I know.
I said it's totally not true.
Yeah, I know.
But it's one of those things where, do you know why you're saying that?
Yes, because I've been fat before and I lost the weight.
Well, me too. I've been fat my whole life. I've been way skinnier than I am now, and I've been way heavier than I am now. Was I less valuable at one point in there?
Well, I mean, you can make an argument that you're less valuable when you're fatter because you drain resources, but that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, I mean, in general, being fat is unacceptable because you control every single morsel of food that goes into your mouth.
Okay.
It shows a lack of discipline, it shows a lack of character, it shows a lack of temperance, and when you're fat, it's an outward manifestation of your inadequacies. When I see
oh my goodness. he's such an a-hole.
You know, some people just like to eat unhealthy food, and I'm one of them, brother.
Yeah,
I mean, I know how to manage. You know, when I do diet and I do exercise, I can actually, you know what, this guy's making me feel bad. I think I'm gonna go back in and get into shape now. You know, I'm starting to feel bad because of this guy.
He's making you feel bad.
Yeah.
Somebody who's 500 or 600 pounds, all I can think of is, why do they care so little about their health that they can do this, allow themselves to gain that much weight, knowing it's taken 20, 30, 40 years off their life?
Some people can't help being fat, though. Like, some people have a thyroid issue that makes them bigger. Like, they're talking like,
right.
Like, they're talking like it's always the person's fault if they're fat. Like, I know, like, some people use that as an excuse. They say, oh, it's a thyroid problem. And I know most of the time that's not true. But there are people out there that do have a thyroid issue and they can't help but be fat. Like,
yeah.
And then you got people like this guy saying, oh, it's unacceptable to be fat.
Unacceptable? That's a harsh way to put it.
I know.
So what do you want to do? Get all the heavy people and like just put them on an island or something? Like, what kind of...
Yeah.
Can't imagine not wanting to live that badly.
I understand that. No, it's I've definitely felt disgusted looking at my own body and looking at other fat bodies in my life. A lot of the disgust I felt looking at people was me feeling disgusted with myself and then projecting that feeling onto other people. And I don't think anyone on either side will disagree that health is important. I know that my own mental health was way worse when I was spending every fixate of my life trying to get smaller and trying to be thinner.
I don't think there's anyone that can look at somebody 500, 600, 700 pounds and not think, wow, what have they done? And not be discussed. Like, how can you not? I just can't understand.
You can't
nobody
assume that everyone has the same opinion, though, because unfortunately, some people have emotional stuff that happened, traumatic stuff that's happened, so you can't discount and just say, oh, because they're fat.
Boo-hoo, man. Like, there's way worse stuff going out in the world versus
Absolutely.
people saying, oh my God, I'm sad, I'm gonna eat some ice cream. It's like, no.
Okay, so this guy, like, okay, I get it. There's way worse stuff going on in the world. However, that does not negate the fact that some people do have emotional trauma in their life, and the way they deal with their emotional trauma is to resort to food. And like, he's kind of like saying, oh, boo-hoo, man, boo-hoo. Like, he's kind of like mocking. I'm like, come on, show some compassion. Like, I'm pretty sure this guy, like, he probably has a good life. He probably doesn't deal with depression, so he doesn't know how to have sympathy towards someone who has depression, obviously. Like, but for the most of us that have mental illnesses, we can sympathize with someone who deals with clinical depression. Like,
you know, if I had a choice between who I'd hang out with, the fit guys or the fat guys, I'd hang out with the fat guys. They seem more down to earth.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
It's like, you're fat, you made that decision, you live in the best country ever. If you live in a civilized first world country where you have electricity, internet power, etc., you deserve to be bullied. It's ridiculous to me that we have all these fat people.
Did he just say
to be bullied?
Yeah.
Oh, this guy's a...
Yeah, I'm glad you caught that. He said they deserve to be bullied.
That's ridiculous. What a mean thing to say, man. See, these are these red pill bully guys that the liberals can't stand and stuff, and I kind of see why they don't like them.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe he just said that. They deserve to be bullied. No one deserves to be bullied.
No one does. No one does, man.
Oh
That's just
man,
wrong on so many levels, man.
no, that is a straight up a-hole thing to say. Like,
Yeah.
Running around. Meanwhile, people are being bombed in Gaza. It's ridiculous. We are so privileged here in the United States and in the West in general. When I see a fat person, I'm like, wow, you got the gift of life. You got the gift of being in a developed country, and you're a fat POS talking about body positivity on TikTok? What the hell is going on
But now you're
here?
segmenting though, because not everyone thinks like that. What do you
No, we
call
need
it?
to bring shaming back.
Okay.
We need to bring shaming back in so many other regards besides obesity. We need to do it with sluts. We need to shame fat people. We need to shame everybody when they fuck up. Because shame has been one of the strongest defenses against degeneracy and human fuck ups.
You had a personal experience you wanted to share.
he said we need to bring back shaming. Like, okay, first off, shaming is never beneficial. There's actual studies out there that have shown that people that are shamed, that like shaming tactics lead to high suicide rates. There's a reason why in China, a lot of young boys that are in school, the pressure, like there's a high suicide rate amongst teenage boys in China today because of shaming tactics. They get a poor grade in school and their parents shame them to the point where they commit suicide. Shaming is not a good tactic. It like
that guy has no heart.
yeah, no, he has no heart.
Share, you said you used to be overweight. Now you're not.
Oh yeah, so I did an experiment back in like 2015 where I like bulked for like almost 2 years and I got up to like 250 pounds, and then I dieted down. It took me about 7 months. I systematically did it, controlled my calories, tracked my macros, tracked my protein, carbs, fats, and systematically lost 1 to 2 pounds per week.
So you chose to gain up to 250.
Yeah,
you were
so
naturally
I've been in all
beforehand.
spectrums. Like I'm naturally skinny.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna get fat as an experiment.
Yeah.
Did it, and then I was like, all right, now I'm gonna lose the weight. And then all I did was just track my calories, ate the same food every single day.
Yeah.
Went to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, and everything was controlled, and it got done. Was it monotonous?
Do you believe that? Do you believe that he purposely got himself fat as an experiment, and then by tracking his calories and all that, like
Maybe he did it. Maybe he did it to prove a point. I think it is possible to do that. I know that losing 1 or 2 pounds a week is possible. I was doing that about that rate when I lost my weight loss. So
yeah,
but like it's possible to do that. But I think just to show that anybody can lose weight if they do what I do, kind of thing. That's just it. Just shows how arrogant this guy really is, man. Like
yeah, he thinks nobody can.
You might have the cleanest thyroid and system there is for you to be capable of losing that weight in an amount of time, but not everybody can say the same. There's genetics that come into play. Like that gentleman in the plaid shirt, for instance, he might be able to do that, or the gentleman in the gray shirt. He might not be able to. Who knows? But there's some people that just can't do it. Period.
That guy, the guy in the plaid shirt, he actually doesn't look that like. I mean, he obviously is a bigger man, but compared to the other guys, he doesn't look that big. Like,
yeah, he even said that like he was skinnier at some points and even bigger before. So he's kind of in the middle of it. So, but
exactly.
he's happy. He's like satisfied. I don't see why he would have to get into shape just to be approved by jerks like that. Like what's the
exactly.
Honest, of course. Was it
No,
boring?
yeah. I agree with you there. I am naturally this way. This is with working out 4 or 5 times a week.
That's not true.
This is 100% true, bro.
Nah, bro.
No,
Come to the gym with me.
It's not natural at all, because at the end of the day, if you don't lose weight, by definition, you're not in a calorie deficit.
Wait, he said, like the guy said, like this is how his body naturally is, and that's with working out. And this guy responds with, "That's not true." How do you know?
The thing is, he's probably not dieting. He's probably maintaining his weight by exercising and eating whatever he feels like. If you diet and exercise, you're going to lose weight. But if you just exercise alone, you're going to maintain your weight. You're not going to really lose a lot, because if you're eating burgers and pizzas and fried chicken and chicken wings and barbecued stuff, you're not going to lose that much weight, even if you do exercise a lot,
My point is, because the guy said that's not true. It's like, how do you know? Are you inside this guy's head? Like, do you know what? Have you seen his day-to-day schedule to know what he does every single day? Like, no. Like, you probably don't even know this guy from Adam. So how are you gonna tell him what's true in his life and what's not true in his life?
Well, I've noticed that a lot of people, they feel just because they're skeptical that automatically makes them right. That's not
Yeah,
how it
exactly. Exactly.
If you're not in a calorie deficit, then you're gonna either maintain or gain weight, and that's the problem is that people don't track their calories.
And that's true, but people burn at their resting metabolic rate a different set of calories.
Doesn't matter.
Let's not get too granular right now.
What?
He said it doesn't matter. Actually, that topples his whole argument right there. That everyone is different. So like you're gonna burn calories at a certain rate differently than everybody. So your method isn't gonna work for everybody. And he just proved that right there. And he just goes, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. Like he just dismissed it right away.
Yeah.
Ragini, it's going to be one of those episodes, right? Let's bring in the disagreeers and hear from them.
Okay, so the reason I disagreed, especially when I heard the statement, I don't think I'll ever look at somebody based on their situation and think that I'm disgusted. Like, if I see somebody that's a drug addict on the street that's homeless, I'm not disgusted by that. If I see somebody that's incredibly overweight, I'm not disgusted by that. Do I think that there's an opportunity for growth? Do I think they've been put in a disadvantageous position that's probably makes it harder for them? Absolutely. I think I'm kind of an empath, so when I see somebody, I know that there's things underlying, and one of my best friends is 400 plus pounds. I've helped him lose 150, 200 pounds. He's gained it back. And I don't look at him and say, I'm disgusted, but I know how bad he wants it. And just seeing how hard he tries and then reverts, it's almost more tough for me than to be like, oh, that's disgusting, And I think there's plenty of people that look at me and say, that's disgusting. I never want to look like that. So like, I know what it feels like on the other side to like look the way I do and get.
I kind of respect this guy. He's actually more down to earth than the person. Yeah.
People look at me like, ugh, that's gross to like have that muscle. And to go back to that point, like you came from a fit place and like deciding to bulk, like that's a conscientious decision to gain weight. Like you already have those habit routines and skills in order to stay in shape. And then you use those same skills you had to pull back on the calories and knowledge you had.
The reason why I use that example is that you can get fat and lose the weight if you know what you're doing and you have the knowledge and everything else like that. It's just about consistency over time. So it's like, I look at it like...
let me cut you off because here's one thing that you just said.
Yeah.
You had the tools. So there's people that don't have the tools that you've passed judgment on, and you have failed to realize that with the tools, people are very much capable of achieving amazing things. But...
Okay, let's talk about said
no,
tools.
No, hold on, I'm not done.
Why? You cut me off
I'm
before,
not done.
remember?
And I stood over there and I listened to you and I was like, it's a ton of bullshit too. But we're gonna address this.
You say?
I was just laughing because like he's calling his bull BS out,
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
You are passing judgment on people who lack the tools to do what it is that they need to do to get themselves to a certain point of health. There are multitudes of factors that weighs into what goes on with somebody's body. There are people that even if they work out, losing the weight does not come as simple as just going to the gym, cutting calories, watching everything that you eat. There are some people that have a disposition. I have a disposition. But does that mean that I'm not active? Does that mean that I'm not doing certain things? No, it doesn't. But you're passing judgment on somebody's body that you know nothing about. Now, on the flip side, what if I turned around and I did the same thing to you? You're talking about how fit and stuff that you are, but you're over there and you're smallest compared to these other guys. So how does that feel if someone comes? No, because you said shame, right?
What?
I didn't say anything, but he has a good point.
Oh, he does have a good point. Yeah.
That's a little.
You said shame, right?
Yeah.
So how does that feel if someone comes up and they start shaming you for size? Like, come on, it goes both ways.
We're just in the first
So,
prompt. We got to be careful about targeting each other too directly.
I mean, I'm not offended. It's fine. He's emotional.
No, it goes in every direction.
He's obviously very triggered. But yeah, so let's talk
about
this guy's.
He's like, Yeah, he's like, oh, he's emotional. He's just triggered. Yeah, and you're an a-hole. That's like
You know, I've noticed a lot of people that say that someone's triggered, they're triggered themselves, you know. So
exactly. It's kind of like, never mind, I won't bring that up. Never mind.
But let's hit the first part, tools. What are the tools? The tools are simply knowledge, which you can get for free on the internet. If you have the ability and the discipline to go out there and get the knowledge, then you're going to lose weight. It's just that simple. It's just that people want to always make excuses for why, oh, my feelings, oh, I don't know what, you don't know what people are going through, blah, blah, blah. No, you can watch your calories, you can go to the gym, you have time to do it. People just like to make excuses.
I don't think anyone's debating that weight loss is impossible here. I think the question is, why do you hate fat people, that you feel the disgust towards it?
Well, like I said before, it's a culmination of a bunch of bad decisions. I'm not going to go ahead and give the same level of respect to someone who's a fat ass to someone that has worked really hard and diligently on their physique.
Wait,
because
you're not going to give someone the same level of respect towards someone who's fat than you would to someone who's fit? Whatever happened to treating other people the way you want to be treated, like Jesus said? Like, just because someone is fat doesn't mean they don't deserve respect.
no kidding.
Like,
No kidding.
your body's outward
But
manifestations
there's
of
more
your decisions,
factors to a
your
human
consistency.
being than their body.
Well, you could judge a lot just off of someone's physique. You'd be like, okay, well, this guy is lazy. And that's personified through their physique. It's the truth.
Abe, I saw you wanted to say something.
Just to take it back to the prompt, I think we just kind of went all over the place there.
Yeah, we're still focusing on the word disgust.
Just the word disgust. I mean, I would never look at someone and show disgust towards them. I mean, I think I would respect, like you said. I mean, you don't respect everyone, like you said, but I think
respect is earned.
I mean, it is earned, but I mean, I think at a humane level,
respect is not earned. Like, if you believe in God, believe in Christ, and you want to follow Christ, then you should understand that everybody deserves respect simply because they're made in the image of God. That means people are sacred and they deserve respect because they image the Creator. Like,
I think this guy. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
What are you gonna say?
Well, I think this guy is mixing up the word fear with respect with fear. He wants to be feared, and you know, that guy that's two guys next to him, that really big guy. If I saw him down the alley, yeah, I might be shaking in my bootstraps. But that guy who's talking a bunch of nonsense and a bunch of ad hominems and whatnot, and a lot of disrespectful things, he doesn't look that scary to me. I need to be honest. He looks like just an average guy.
Yeah, exactly. He does. He looks like an average guy. Like,
we can learn to appreciate each other's differences.
Yeah, I don't know if like disgust would be the right word, right?
I know.
Greg mentioned some health implications with being overweight or obese.
Yeah.
I think being concerned might be a better.
That's the word I was going to go
better
for.
word.
Like, I can show concern for someone for the way that they are, but I would never look at someone and say, like, you're disgusting.
But is it any different than if you see somebody who's extremely anorexic, they're 50 pounds, you look at them and you're in shock? Oh my God, like something happens in your body you can't control. You can't stop that. Like,
even with someone that's anorexic, they still deserve respect. You shouldn't look at them with disgust.
I don't get disgusted with people with anorexia. I feel bad for them. I give them empathy.
Yeah,
I want to automatically want to help them out or something, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not, I don't hate them. It's just, wow, oh my God, it's like, it's disgusting. Like, holy goodness gracious.
Why would
stop.
you use the word disgusting?
That's not that. What do you think about that?
That kind of reminded me of that recent video of that red pill or alpha male conference, and like that one Christian got like hassled by that alpha male guy.
Yeah.
And he really made himself look foolish by saying a bunch of stuff. And like, you know, the Christian had an answer for everything he had, and he was calm the whole time. And Mr. Big Shot was getting all emotional and getting rude and stuff. And he just portrayed how, you know, these secularists that don't have God, they really show how foolish they can be a lot of times. Like when you lack God and you rely on your own understanding, you're going to fall flat on your face every time. So that's why most people can't handle situations like that when they lack God, because like they let their emotions get the better of them. And yeah, you might have a nice body, you might have a good bank account, but
but you have the mentality of a child.
Yeah,
Whereas,
right.
Yeah, you might be fit, you might have a lot of money in your bank account, but all that is useless when you have the mentality of a little child. Like you're not a man. Like you may look like a man, you may be Mr. Tough Guy, but you're just a little boy. That's all you are. You're not. These red pill guys are not men. They're weak. They're mentally weak. They might be physically strong, but they're mentally weak.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Real
Like,
men love Jesus. Change my mind.
yeah, real men love Jesus. Like that's like maybe one of these days we should do a video where we talk about red pill and how that's bad for mental health.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Next week,
All right.
perhaps.
What?
Next week, perhaps.
Yeah, next week, perhaps. Yeah. Speaking about that, stay tuned for next week's episode of Christian Schizo Rants. It's Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank you, Joe, for joining me for this week's episode. And check out Joe's channel. The link to his channel is in the description box below. It's Christian Comedy and Debate. So check him out. Thank you to the viewers that watched
We might be getting a debate soon.
Yeah. Thank you for the viewers who watched this stream, and thank you to the viewers that are going to watch the playback to this stream. And please leave a like and comment below and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. All right. And if you've been blessed by the Christ Center Mental Health Ministry, please consider supporting the ministry via Patreon, Venmo, or Cash App. For pledges of $5 or more on Patreon, or a one-time donation of $10 or more on Venmo or Cash App, I'll send you a few copies of my books as a token of my gratification. Thank you very much. Have a good day. God bless you all, and stay strong in the Lord. All right, bye.
God bless.
God bless.